Al Poole is absent, David Walker is absent, Soren Peterson, Chuck Schultz.
Here.
And Marcy Husted here.
Okay, first item of business to discuss is the future 2018 sewer connections. As you know, that we have, as part of our sewer bond, we had homes that you had an option to either connect at the time that the sewer was put in, or within, how many years? 15 years, they had to connect. Well, next year, 2018 is 15 years. So we're in the process of trying to look at different options to help these residents out, because it's a steep bill. Some of them are new residents, some of them are residents that have purchased afterwards, and there may have been some disclosure on this and not, so we know that it's going to be a situation, so we want to see what we can do to work through it. And we also have Bob West here from Heartland Township, who's faced the same situation. So we're going to talk about some of the options, and I think Marna is going to take it from here. So.
Oh, well, I know we've created a list. We know which parcels have structures, and we've determined if they are paying on the SAD currently, or if they need to purchase an REU. And we're thinking, I know the board, we've had some discussion that the 20 or so that actually need to purchase an REU may be in need of assistance. And I know, talking with Bob West, they had many different options that they tried to provide to the residents. I think our board was probably more interested in just doing an SAD, another special assessment, maybe for a shorter period of time. And I think that was an option that you had. But that's the most discussion we've had with our board. But we do have a solid list of the parcels that have structures that need to hook in. There's probably over 45 total, and I think 20 some that have not actually purchased an REU, is where we're at. So I don't know if you want to share your
Sure.
scenarios and.
Absolutely, and first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening.
Well,
I'd like to
thanks for being here.
Yeah.
provide some insight in similar fashion. Actually, we started in late 2014. We were reaching out, similar situation. We had homes that fronted or had their parcel lines adjacent to the public sewer system and had not connected. They were given the same time constraints as I'm sure your folks were. And our township board reviewed it, and we decided to take a little bit more passive approach, because we had certain residents who had engineered septic fields, which they had invested a lot of money in, and we felt that we would give them the option rather than force them to connect. Basically, we came up with three options. The first option was the township will come in and we will connect your property or your home or business, we extended this to the business community, to the sanitary sewer system, and we would do the whole project, complete turnkey from beginning to end with permits, and simply assess you for that. Now, our duration for that assessment process is 20 years. That has kind of been our standard for water and sewer assessments, so we thought that it was probably a good plan just to move forward and keep some consistency. The second option we offered was they could choose to connect on their own and pay out of their own pocket. And what they would avoid basically is any, for the sake of argument, local government interference. And we would just simply say you have 90 days to connect with the sewer system. And at that point, you could handle and manage your own project. And then the last option we offered the folks who were really against the project was, you don't have to connect. However, we are going to essentially start sending a quarterly bill to recoup the portion that pays for our bond payments. That money was projected in our rate study. We reviewed that with with their legal counsel. Our legal counsel supported that idea. And so basically we had three options on the table. So we had a full turnkey assistance, or you could do it on your own, or you could choose not to do anything. There were people who said, I believe my engineered septic system still has 20 years of life in it. And regardless of if they were right or wrong, we felt that if that's the way they felt and they did not want to participate, we still were going to capture that quarterly, the fixed rate, if you will. They certainly wouldn't be billed a commodity rate based on the number or the gallons of use, but we did charge them the fixed rate, regardless if they connected or not, because our rate study hinged on that. We really, offering that to the people, we went out to a public meeting. That was the next step after we created a letter, I should say, back up and say, we expressed these three options. We also highlighted the code that indicates that townships and municipalities have the right to force this connection. It's often referred to as the 200-foot rule, or in slang terms, but more or less, if you're within 200 feet of a public sewer, the municipality operating that has the right to force connection. Now, our board taking a different approach. We did have very high participation levels. We did send it out, or I'm sorry, after we sent out the letters, we also included a public forum, and I basically facilitated those forums myself. And what we did was just educate the people, the reason why. And I'll tell you, that seemed to be the number one reason. Everybody said, why now? Why didn't you do it before? And so it was just an education piece. Once everybody kind of got that, we offered to let them sign up. And the people that wanted to move forward, we developed cost estimates for this process. A property needing an REU, we would highlight that and give them a line item cost for each property. And one of the caveats associated with that is most municipalities choose to plug in an engineering firm for this project. When they do, we elected not to, because the theory was on the residential connections, if they were to connect on their own, you don't need to hire an engineer. So we thought, for this reason, we would do it with our in-house staff. Now, we worked very close with the Livingston County Drain Commission. They helped us with the cost estimates. And there were some anomalies that we had to really fine-tune, such as if there were borings under any of the roads or anything of that nature. But we were able to deliver each resident who wanted to participate a construction estimate. They were fine with that, and they still wanted to move forward. That was more or less how we adopted the assessment role. So the assessment role for the project construction, every single property owner had a different amount based on the construction estimate, and then put the project out to bid, and it was under what we had estimated. There certainly was the scale of economies with the amount of work here, and project just before winter, we had everybody connected. We decided to simply let the ground settle, because there will be some settlement. These sewers are over the course of winter, and we came back the following spring and conducted. The biggest anomaly we had with the whole process, I would say, was the restoration. I guess if I could go back and do it over again, or if I've learned from my mistake, it would have been, I would have anticipated more luxurious restoration. A lot of the homeowners are under the expectation that they need to know up front if they have sod or if they're getting seed, stuff of that nature. Generally, our township policy on any restoration is if you have an irrigation system, we'll consider sod. But if you don't have an irrigation system at your home, it's very tough to make sod take. It does require a lot of maintenance, and but we muscled through it, and it worked out well. Ultimately, the quarter after construction, regardless if the people signed up or not, if they were identified, they did start receiving a quarterly bill.
Of the three options, what percentage would you say took the turnkey option?
Probably 70%.
And then what percent would you say connected on their own?
We don't have the 100% because accurate figure. We're estimating
I'm just trying to get a
in the
guess.
neighborhood of 10 to 12.
Okay.
And there were people that actually changed their mind. And what had happened was we had one particular neighborhood, and when the contractor went in there and just started hammering out one after another, the neighbor said, oh, maybe we should have jumped on board, and actually went out and negotiated with the contractor directly.
Okay.
And said, I'm not even going to get with the town, I'm just going to pay them directly. So we found out about it when their permits actually came through Livingston County.
So you had about 20% that decided just to
Yeah.
take the billing and not do anything.
Yes.
Of those, did anybody challenge the MTT on those?
Not a one.
Okay. What problems did you face with the turnkey option outside of the restoration?
Outside of the restoration, it was the anomalies with where their existing septic system was. Unfortunately, the public sewer may be at the road, but if their septic system goes out in their backyard, when we pull the old septic records, we would have to run that pipe around the side of the yard to reach the front yard. On low pressure systems that require grinder pumps, it was very tough to accurately depict the electrical connection costs until an electrician could get in the basement. Because if there was a grinder pump that would be installed just opposite the basement wall where the electric panel was, that would be substantially cheaper than if they had to run all through the ceiling on the other side of the house.
Sure.
So that was kind of we didn't want to really impact the homeowners, and we indicated to them, I put a $2,500 allowance, I believe, if memory serves me correct, for each electrical service. And at the public meeting, I indicated to them, some may be lower, some may be higher. It depends on where your
Sure.
electrical service. I didn't want to bother each homeowner to go into their basement. I just let them know ahead of time, basically, that we were somewhat conservative on that.
Now, for reclamation purposes, did you photograph each property before you started construction?
We did, yes.
And did you find that valuable?
I didn't find it as valuable in this particular project, but I had found it very valuable in others. I was prepared. We photographed specifically the driveways and mailboxes, existing landscaping. The other thing we did find out too were the day of construction, there always seemed to be a call coming in that said, hey, we got a slight issue here. They want to save this bush or that tree. We need to go around it. It's going to be additional piping and stuff. So I kind of carried around in my vehicle a change order pad, and I would just have the homeowner sign off. We would get an estimate, it's another $100 to go around this tree or to avoid this retaining wall. And as long as they signed, we were okay with it.
How do you add, if there's a change order that's adding to the special assessment?
Yes.
The individual homeowner's assessment.
Yes, it would only go, upon completion of the whole project, we went back and amended the assessment roll to reflect the actual cost.
Okay.
So some were actually quite a bit less. We had one in particular that had substantial restoration, up in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000.
So just, how large was your project? How many connections did you have?
I think the total was around 40, so similar,
It'll be very similar.
but not out of that 40, that included those who did not connect as well,
Okay.
so.
Okay, can we cover some timelines? So obviously, we're at a point where we need to inform and educate. We could do that quickly. We have our list. Now, if you're looking at a turnkey special assessment, you have to start bidding. How long does that process take? To start getting companies, contractors in, they're gonna have to go to each individual 40-some parcels, they're gonna go to each one. How long does that take to get bids to even figure out what this cost is gonna be?
to avoid impacting multiple contractors showing up at the door, what we did is we kind of relied on GIS imagery, and we were measuring. We would have the cut sheets for where the existing lead was. Livingston County Health Department has well and septic records, so I could tell where their septic field was, and we could tell where their septic tank was. So I would draw measurements on GIS and basically come up with my construction estimate based on the linear footage.
Okay.
And what we did is we told them at the public meeting that, you know, I was very conservative on my construction estimates, knowing that, you know, there are going to be a lot of unknowns. And contractors still would drive around, but I indicated when we did put it out to bid that the contractors were not to bother the homeowners. They can drive by, but this is not a knock on the door.
Right.
I mean,
How many bids did you get?
we ended up getting, I believe, 7 bids. It was actually pretty substantial.
Wow.
Were you satisfied with your contractor, and would you use them again?
Yes, I would. I think there's unusual circumstances with any project of this nature, being that
Unknown variables.
exactly. And I think regardless of which contractor we would have chosen, you're going to come up with issues, and it's how well that contractor and you can get through them. It certainly requires a lot of from the Livingston County Drain Commission. So I would urge you to get a contractor who works well with the Livingston County Drain Commission as well. They were, you know, field staff over there were a great resource, because there will be stuff that once you uncover or expose the underground utility that was not on the plans, and the decision needs to be made in the field. So, and that decision generally comes from the Livingston County Drain Commission. So it certainly requires a relationship between the township, the county, as well as the
And you felt that the contractor had that relationship?
I felt it with Heartland Township. I don't want to speak on behalf of the contractor with Livingston County, but I know, you know, I had that personally. But I like to think I'm pretty easy to get along with.
Pretty much, yeah.
So once the bidding process, when was the goal to pretty much try to start the project that spring? I mean,
What we did is, after we had the bidding process, we invited each resident basically to get a hold of a contractor who was selected.
okay,
And that contractor met with each homeowner and basically said, do you have any graduation parties? Do you have anything going on? Your yard is going to be torn up. It's not going to be a simple 2-foot wide trench. Do you have any landscaping you want to avoid? And at that time, that proved to be very valuable. And I think that's where the value in the contractor, because they're representing your township to these people. In this particular instance, I thought that was very favorable. And each resident had their personal demands or personal issues taken care of before a shovel was even put in the ground. So we knew up front that gives the contractor can align their schedule and develop it, saying I can't do these 3 until after these graduation parties. It basically took all summer long.
wow.
However, it was all completed before September. The construction portion was. So the first collection of the assessment was actually based on the construction estimate. We came back in spring and completed the restoration and then amended the roll. So we had to adjust after the first payment was already made on the assessment, the winter tax bill.
There's gonna be a little bit of fronting
There
some
will be.
funds.
Well, they're gonna pay their first assessment based on the construction
Construction
estimate. 'Cause
estimate.
That's what the roll was
Okay.
adopted by. When you,
All right,
it'll be very difficult, because generally when you dig a trench to that depth that you're gonna go, I mean, generally 30 to 60 days just for settling, and then to get grass to grow. Those people at the end of the summer, regardless, are gonna probably struggle to have the whole thing completed before the assessment period. So, I mean, there's a high probability it will extend into 2 year, or 2 cycles.
Right, 2 cycles. Okay. So if this contractor is working directly with the homeowners, obviously these little unknowns and special requests are coming up. So what do they make, like a list, bring it to you, and then you get change orders made? I mean, you wouldn't be
Yes.
allowing the contractor to be issuing change orders.
No, all change orders came through myself and
Okay.
Tyrone Township, and I required each, whoever was on the deed of the home to sign. If there were 2 people on the deed, I required both the husband and wife to sign up.
Okay.
Because ironically, we ran into an issue where the husband didn't agree with the wife.
Why would you find that ironic?
Well,
Just curious.
Just had to say that.
but yeah, it was very quick, kind of an email scan would come over, and I was in contact with homeowners as well, and I would call and say, you know, here's what you have, here's the additional cost if you want to proceed this way, and, you know, it's a lot of communication is what it is. But however, we felt that we were saving the residents approximately, arguably, I'll phrase it that way, 20 to 22% by avoiding an engineering company to come in and do this.
Okay.
And by bidding it out with the sole contractor.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did you require the people who are going to connect on their own to use the same contractor?
We did not, because technically the Livingston County Drain Commission does not. So it was just if you wanted to participate with the township's turnkey package, we were gonna bid it out as one. They were more than welcome. We did make it known who the contractor was. However, they were more than welcome to explore their own options as well, as if they weren't even participating.
We have a lot of residents that have their own equipment. I could see quite a few of them doing it themselves, as long as they can get the permit and get inspection passed. A do-it-yourself or project, I mean, if you're in construction or you've got the equipment. I wouldn't want to make someone use a contractor if they don't even need to hire one.
Can I interject? Then they wouldn't be on the township's turnkey option.
No, if they're going to
But-
pay for it on their own.
But if you found that because of the group of connections that, within one time getting on an assessment, did you have any inclination that maybe this would also help save the residents on a per home estimate to get this, or was this generally saying it's just a connection, they've already, whether or not the fixed costs are, it was just a generic number? I mean, obviously it went out to bids, but have you compared that with anybody's single connection? And was that just another
No, I
thing to think about
understand
saving.
Some of it was kind of tough because the people that connected on their own, they saw this contractor going down their street. The contractor said, I'm already here. If I
Yeah.
can do it now, I'm going to extend the unit price I had to the township.
Okay.
If you want me to come back in another month, it's a whole different ballgame.
So it probably did save
Yes.
every resident a certain small amount because they had a group. Okay.
And it just, even the equipment staging, I know in the one particular development, the contractor was able to just keep the equipment there for almost 2 weeks, didn't have to take it home every night. There's certainly a mobility fee there, costing, and even the restoration, went in that same neighborhood, did all the restorations at one time, and just right up and down the street.
So that would be another possible benefit for everybody that has to connect, because it probably will save them money. We hope.
Ask one question, Mike.
Yeah, please do.
How many REUs are operational in your system right now? Roughly, just a guesstimate. So the 40 that you're talking about really doesn't affect your ability to make bond payments by spreading it over 20 years?
No, in fact, of those, over half of them already own the RAU. So it really wasn't the REU fact, it was more the quarterly bill.
I get the debt service charge.
Yes.
Okay, so you could do the 20 years because it really wasn't going to affect your ability to make the bond payments. And how long out are your bonds before they're considered paid? When your bond's going to be paid off roughly?
Well, this started, I'm not sure to tell you the truth. I think
They put theirs in the same time we are, so we're a joint Livingston Regional Sewer, so their bonds are very similar to ours, unless anything was refinanced. So you're
Yeah.
2032 on your bond payment like us, somewhere in there?
sounds familiar. I know we did something, but it only adjusted it by a couple of years. I think we did refi, but only by a couple of years. And also, our rate structure hinged on the amount of new connections. And we started to get some feedback as well from other people saying, well, you're requiring them to connect. They're supposed to connect too. Why are you making me? Because the rule was if your septic did fail, you're not issued any permits. There were a lot of homeowners who didn't like that. And quite frankly, it was out there that they had X number of years to connect and they didn't. That time had since passed.
Another alternative that a township I work with chose for people coming into the system who wanted to pay over time, rather than do an SAD, the township adopted a policy that says you can pay over the remaining length of the bonds. So if the bonds are 5 years out, you have to pay it all off in the 5 years. If it's 17 years, or whatever it turns out to be, 15 years, you spread it out. You don't do any of the SADs, it's just a policy that you've adopted, and you put it on the tax bill.
And make them connect on their own.
No, I mean, you can still do all
All
the
the
same options that are
contractors.
available. It's
Right.
just,
Instead of a
You offer them
new,
the-
instead of a new SAD, you're just adding them to the existing,
it's not even an SAD, you're just
just adding it to.
putting them on their billing. And we can, I'm just using it as an example. It's not creating a formal SAD, and we can talk about that, but there's a couple different ways to go.
We should look at that option too, so we should talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
If you're going to give them the same, almost the same length of time that Heartland is, because if the bonds are out there quite a ways, if there's a cheaper way to do it, have the people make the same payments over time, it's something worth at least considering.
Oh, we want to look at all of our options. Absolutely, so. We need to get on to our next topic. Does anybody have any other questions or comments that they'd like to ask Mr. West while he's here?
I just want to say thank you and I appreciate all of your
Absolutely.
input.
thanks for coming
and
on.
I'll be more than happy to answer.
Very
any
noble
questions.
for you
Mike has
to help
my
us out,
contact
and
information.
we appreciate it.
Sample letters and all that stuff has been great, so.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Bob,
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our item number 2, and that's discussion of the proposed drain. As you know, we've had some flooding in one of our subdivisions, and we've been looking for some resolutions up there for quite some time, and we're kind of coming down to a proposed drainage districts, and this would be an interjurisdictional drain agreement between residents of Genesee County and Livingston County. I know there's been some petitions circulated around, and there are some signatures and there's some interest, more specifically on the Livingston County side as opposed to the Genesee County side. You know, just as a general comment, they feel that their water, once they leave Genesee County, is Livingston County's problem. So we still have this solution, and we need to come up with some direction on how we should go forward. So that's what we're here to talk about, and we have a couple of residents who are affected here. We have some pictures. We have Ken Recker from the Drain Commissioner's Office to shed some light on the proposed drainage district to the board so they can understand a little bit more. So did you want to start out, Ken, and take it from there?
Sure. Shelley?
We've got about a half an hour, so.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk for 5 minutes. Instead, I'll be here to field questions.
So we're gonna get the short Ken Recker version of that, huh?
Short version, yeah.
Reader's Digest version.
Really bring up. Should have brought.
Got one somewhere, I think, but.
You want to use the chalkboard?
You two guys have seen all these before.
It's probably our easel's probably parked with the overhead projector in the same closet.
So,
Technology's changed.
are you guys familiar with the background of what happened on this system, or?
A little bit,
Okay.
yeah.
So basically where we're at is the condominium is over here at the southwest corner of Lobdell and Whitaker Road. And the residents circulated a petition under Chapter 5 of the Drain Code, which is a petition to establish an intercounty drainage district. And that caused a meeting of our office, Genesee County Drain Commissioner, and the Department of Ag to occur at the Rock Church. Hired engineer, did some analysis. In a nutshell, came up with a concept for a relief drain. That relief drain starts right about where a culvert goes under Lobdell Road, north of the Apple Orchard subdivision, comes down to the county line, runs over into this park area north of Apple Orchard Drive, east of Linden, and then southwesterly over towards the direction of Hoisington Lake. The cost for that, a branch that actually drains the retention area and ties into this main over on the Rock Church property, is tentatively estimated at around $900,000. So,
Can I interject there real quick?
yes,
That retention area, retention means that the water comes in and there's no outflow. So at one point, there was some development up north, and there was some drainage that was coming down along the road, and somehow, somewhere, somebody shifted the drainage to go into that retention pond. That retention pond was not designed to do that. We've already had the discussion of liability, the engineering firm's gone, da-da-da-da. So, I mean, liability's out the door. The issue is that, how do we fix the problem going forward? So I'm sure we'll see some pictures that show some of the issues associated with all that additional flow that went into that retention pond. It's kind of shocking, so.
there's 200 acres that appear to flow into that. The engineer originally thought that 50 acres was going to flow into that, and that was back in 1998, before the advent of orthophotography and 2-foot contour interval mapping. But the development that Mike's talking about, Fox Chase Farms, up here off the corner of Owen and Linden, and then there's an Elder Oaks development north of Lobdell. Both those flow into the basin in question. So the next step after the Chapter 5 petition is executed is we need a petition to actually locate, establish, and construct a drain. And the way that the engineer, in cooperation with our office in Genesee County, thought that the drain should run is it begins down here, like I described, runs up to the county line and runs through Fox Chase Farms up to the corner of Linden and Owen Road. So based on that length, we need X number of signatures for the Chapter 6 petition, which I want to say the number is 36, I think, and the petitions that were submitted by by Gordon had 24 signatures on them. Now, my understanding is the Rock Church signed that petition also. I don't know if Glenn brought that piece of paper here with him tonight, but at any rate, given the route beginning in Hoisington Lake and ending, at the intersection of Owen and Linden Road, we're a few signatures short of the individual route.
Has every stakeholder been approached for a signature?
Gordon Tomaszewski's basically signed an affidavit to that effect.
You knocked on every one of those doors?
I didn't knock on every door. What I did was I contacted Fox Chase Subdivision, and Scott Leonard is the president. And I've had several conversations with him. When I wrote up, we had a meeting at the Rock Church.
Right,
just for
right.
information
Yeah,
purposes.
yeah.
I sent that over to him, I emailed that to him, he said he would post that to their website to make all the residents aware. And then additionally, I went out and I mailed to everybody within Apple Orchard subdivision a copy of the letter also stating when the meeting was and such forth.
Okay.
And anybody I did not have an address for, then what I did is I went down, which it didn't leave probably 25 or 30 additional people. I went down the road and I put flyers in their mailboxes. So, you know, I made the attempt to contact everybody.
So, of the shareholders at the county line south for Livingston County, how many shareholders are there?
In terms of freeholders traversed by the drain,
Correct.
I want to say 34.
It was 34.
So 34.
So if we took 34, how many signatures under 51 would we need out of 34 to make it fly? Half?
If we ended the drain at the county line, we'd only need 17 signatures.
Do we have 17 Livingston County signatures?
Yes, we do. We have enough
That's-
signatures to extend it up to Lobdell Road, for that matter.
Okay, well, so now if we don't have enough signatures for a petition, then either jurisdiction by resolution can go ahead and initiate the project for both counties, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So, and the reason why I asked that question is I was at those informational meetings and they're so disinterested on their flow, and my comment was, why don't they just, go ahead and redirect their flow and take care of their water and we'll take care of ours. Well, obviously, through drain code, that's probably not gonna happen. I mean, it could happen, but it's not. So they want to pass the buck on this, for the most part. I'm not gonna say entirely, but that's, what.
We haven't heard from Fenton Township other than,
Well, and I've contacted them and I've let them know and they've just, it's been crickets. So I spoke with their township manager about it, let him know the informational meeting and they sent nobody. I see the issue and Gordon, did you have some pictures that we could, did you bring them with you tonight?
Well, actually, I submitted to Marcy, I know.
Yeah, I have some on, by email.
you
I
have
didn't know
some-
if you were bringing your flash drive or not.
No, actually.
Okay.
May we?
Right.
It has been scanned for viruses, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I ask that is because we have a portion of our residents that say we should go ahead and proceed with this. And based, I think we should have this discussion, and I don't see, and maybe a legal counsel should advise otherwise, but what challenges would we be facing if we went ahead as a township and initiated it? Because Genesee County water is coming down here, once it gets across the county line, it's not causing them any problems, but it's causing us problems. And, we can't chase down the liability of this, but we definitely have an issue. Something needs to be done, so, is there anything preventing the township from initiating this?
As I sit here today, Mike, I don't have enough knowledge
Sure.
to be able to tell you that.
No.
I'd want to talk to Ken again
Sure.
and do my own
might wanna
research.
try
And I've got
different
another
courses.
person.
But you get where I'm coming from with the point as far as like we've got a problem they're not wanting to take accountability for their flow because once it leaves their jurisdiction, it's no
It should be
problem.
green.
So
shouldn't
you
it?
want to create a solution solely in your township.
Well, I'd like to look at it. There's 6 other people here that have to make that decision, but
Choice of words, perhaps.
sure. But I think we definitely need to have the conversation of whether we would like to, initiate a drainage district and then pull Genesee County in on this to fix the issue.
All right.
And the key thing for me was, we have a certain amount of residents in our township, and it seems like under the drain code that there's enough signatures, more than enough signatures to make it fly on our end. So here's one of the houses. This is Mr. Sadler's house, right?
Yeah.
It's your house.
Yes, sir, sorry.
So this is what happens when the retention pond floods. This is his basement, and
You
he's
just
got
move forward.
a couple of feet of water in there. There's a sliding glass door. There's 3.5, 4 foot of water out there. Those are some good windows. I'd like to know what they are. That's the retention pond. What he's actually standing on right there, is that the berm that you put in?
Yeah, yes, that's in 2014.
Yep. 2014, I got a complaint from a neighbor that somebody built a dam in their backyard. And when I went out there and saw it, I saw what it was for. And why. I mean, he looks out that sliding glass door and he's looking at a bank. I mean, it's just only several feet from it.
That's the PVC pipe I put in right beyond the berm, just to show how much actually water it is. And it's actually almost 7 foot tall when it goes through. Actually, at the beginning of the subdivision, this is actually from Orchard Parkway. That's Chris's house. This is water coming down from Whitaker Road down by right through his front yard, right to the retention pond.
Kind of looking,
That's Elder Oaks. That's in 2014 as well. That's when their retention pond.
look at that direction. That's that.
That's where it's going?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where it's coming. It's coming from the intersection with East. That right there is basically off Elder Oaks. That's right here, almost.
Okay.
And like I said, it's a retention pond. There is no outflow, there's no overflow, nothing.
Retention is designed to work on the principle of infiltration only.
Right.
What comes in has to go down or it has to evaporate. And when you've got that much more land draining to it than was originally thought, not going to work.
Well, and with it becomes, what soluble materials and potassiums and all kinds of stuff that promote weed growth, and they start coagulating that sand, and it doesn't infiltrate like it should.
They require maintenance to maintain that infiltration. There's no doubt about that. Yep.
Oh.
That,
For flooded.
yeah, that berm, that picture does not do that berm justice.
Actually, that's the old berm. There was actually another. We actually had to build. Trying to get a picture of that. That's kind of weeping, and this is.
Yeah, it's the old berm.
It's actually holding all that water back, but it's just starting to weep up and under, and
Sure.
pumps can't keep up. All within 24 hours, how fast that water rose. And I got videos of it, how fast it actually is. When water reached.
You could imagine what this does as far as having cleanup and homeowners insurance and furniture and mold remediation and all that.
Like the third year, it flooded in 11, 12, flooded in 11, we had it fixed. Had a lot of landscaping done in 12. Then in 13 it flooded, then 14 it really flooded. So it's flooded. Last year, actually the strange thing, last year the water was higher than it ever has been, but the berm was high enough where it actually kept the water. Measuring stick berm last year.
Yeah, see if we can get some
every year
pictures of that
it keeps
berm.
getting
It's
higher
getting
and
higher.
and higher. That's the.
There you go.
How high did we get this spring? How high?
It was actually not.
And then you can see the house next door
It
too.
was actually higher than it ever was.
The spring
Yeah,
was the
I know.
highest.
So Mike's house, he flooded.
Yeah, we flooded this year. Flooded for the last 4 years.
This looks like Louisiana.
Doesn't it? Hey, there I am again. Thank you for the plug there, appreciate it.
I had Pulsar go in there to all the drywall out. For over a week with the dehumidifier. So that's the new berm we had put out.
Yeah, You got another shot, there you go.
Oh, this is the new room.
Yeah, that's it.
I actually, too, like Lee Marcy, I sent you pictures where I'm standing when that, the size of the berm, it denotes I'm 6'2", and I've got it in one of the years, I don't recall what year because I believe it's labeled, but I was standing next to the berm, that berm's.
I can't see over it, and I'm 6'6".
Yeah, and it's, I mean, in the basement.
There you
There,
go.
there's people standing right there, yeah.
I'll pre-plant grass.
That berm gets any bigger, they're gonna
That's
find
actually-
catfish the size of
see-
humans down there.
It's actually, it's more water than it was, so yeah, it's all thick and everything, but still it's leaching and.
This process, the Chapter 5 and 6 petition process, isn't something that, there's not a lot of new inter-county drains created. This is the first new inter-county drain that I've had in 20 years of working at the Drain Commissioner's office.
Really?
So it's not something that happens every day. There are existing inter-county drains that we share with Genesee and Oakland and Shiawassee and Ingham.
And there will be a cost to the township on this, we just probably gonna have to butt heads a little bit on how much that's gonna be, but that's another discussion down the road. There'll be an annual cost, and we've had it before with other drains. In fact, we just paid one off last year, what, didn't we?
Like the at-large
Yeah.
drains. All the years I've been here, we pay it every year.
Ken, who's on the intercounty drainage board? What's it comprised of?
The Inter-County Drainage Board is comprised of a representative of each of the counties that are affected by the drain, and then is chaired by a representative of the Department of Agriculture. So the way the Drainage Board is supposed to work is chair from the representative from the Department of Agriculture only votes to break ties between county drain commission representatives.
That's whether there's necessity and all that.
Yep.
Potential
The Drainage
disputes.
Board votes to determine necessity. I don't know if any of you were around when we did the drain off of Lake Shannon that Mike was talking about with respect to the at-large. For an intra-county drain, there's a 3-person disinterested board that necessity, but for a drain that crosses county lines, the Drainage Board, which consists of a representative of our office and the county and the Department of Agriculture, vote to determine necessity. And that's at a meeting that's publicly noticed of all the landowners to be affected, both in Livingston and Genesee County.
So you have the township living, or I'm sorry, Tyrone Township can petition under Chapter 6,
Yes.
and then you compile your 3 people and have at it.
Well, the petition in Chapter 6 would actually trigger the necessity hearing that the code talks about, when we would have that. We could have it here, we could have it at Fenton Township Hall, we'd probably have it at the Rock Church, because it's right there in the district. Invite everybody to that meeting, given an opportunity to speak during the public comment period.
So the township has the ability to submit a petition of residents along the proposed path of the drain, Chapter 6, or alternatively, the municipality can.
Yeah, either the landowners within the district, which includes this red line, is shown on these various time series aerial photographs, or one of the affected units of government can petition in lieu of the landowners.
So are we short on landowner petitions right now?
With the current
Both.
configuration of the drain, yes. If the drain shortened, possibly not.
Shorten the drain, and maybe get enough petite people, but that changes the nature of the correction of for the project.
It changes the nature of the amount of service they have in Genesee County. I don't think that we would change anything the way it's currently designed in Livingston County. Because we have to enter, the job in Livingston County is to intercept the water and get it not there. So we have to do that.
So we're talking about just Livingston County, in essence, residents along the drain route being the petitioners?
The law is, it's written in 1956 E's. The law says the petition has to be signed by a number of freeholders, half of the landowners traversed by the drain within the drainage district. That doesn't confuse you. But in a nutshell, add up the number of freeholders traversed, there's 34 in Livingston, so if the drain were to start at the county line and end down in Hoisington Lake, we would need 17 signatures. The way the drain's currently configured, running into Benton Township up to the intersection of Owen Road and Linden Road, we need more signatures than that.
And in terms of the township's alternative of just them petitioning, it's just as long as the board authorizes the petition, and act on it, or the
That's
inter-county.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. The Inter-County Drain Board would be summoned if we received a petition from the township.
Will the assessment of the charges against the residents versus the township versus whoever else going to be assessed, is it changed? Is it different if it's a petition by the municipality versus the residents?
No.
It's a benefit analysis either way.
It's assessed based on the principle of benefit derived. The law says we shall assess the township for benefit to public health. That's what the law says about drain benefit being assessed to the municipality at large.
So you don't have a whole lot of personal experience as to likelihood of success or not, just because this doesn't happen very often.
Well, a drain petition is a drain petition. I have a fair amount of experience with drain petitions. This one just happens to cross a major municipal boundary. So
I meant the inter-county portion of
the
it.
inter-county portion of it is a little bit different in terms of starting up a new drain, but every indication is that it's going to be treated like any other petition project. Sometimes when local units of government work with the state, that making it real, but other than that, in general.
If you have this petition that's received, is there a discussion with both municipalities, the counties, if you will, before you get to the necessity portion where there's a formal hearing, more informal discussions that say cost is going to be X amount? We suggest that it be allocated between the various freeholders and the townships, et cetera, in a certain fashion as a way of avoiding perhaps contested hearings on necessity?
The drainage board sets the percentages between the counties. That's how the law spells it out, and that, for this particular circumstance, I don't believe has been defined. In general, the acreage appears to be, I'll just say 60 to 66% Genesee County and 33 to 40% Livingston County is what the general acreage breakdown appears to be between the communities. The portion of between the counties is going to fall in that range. But that's something that has to be voted on by the drainage board in terms of being determined. Now, I know Mike's reached out to Benton Township. I sent them a memo early on when this was first coming. I spoke a few minutes with Deputy Clerk up there. I forget the name of the fellow I spoke with up there.
Might have been Tom Broker.
Tom, probably.
Yes.
Tom Broker, he's the township manager.
Manager.
Okay.
And he handles most of the business up there, and he knows everything that's going on.
Gotcha.
So is that percentage distribution potentially part of the problem with them responding favorably to this? Because they're...
One could speculate.
I would say if you've got something that's free now, why would you want to sign up to pay for it?
That's why I'm wondering about the politics of apportioning the costs between various entities.
Well, Genesee County is they're looking at it as, you know, we've got X acres in this and what, you know, based on the acreage or there may be other factors other than acreage that incorporate into that split, but acreage is going to be the single most dominant factor in terms of how the percentage of the cost is split.
Alternatively, you could just have a petition that affects Livingston County. In essence,
That's correct.
it would not become an inter-county drain at that point.
It's a workshop.
It's just a drain petition.
With that being said, we've got about 3 to 4 minutes before we start our meeting, so
We might
let's,
need a couple more chairs, too.
we wrap this up so we can start our board meeting on time, and then let those people that want to leave and get going, so.
Who owns the blue Ford Fusion?
Did you whack it?
The door's still open. Oh. Thought you were in a hurry to get out.
Or maybe he's in a hurry to get in.
Did anybody have anything else real quick, and then we can just, otherwise we can just move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay.
We're gonna need
Thanks
some more
again, John. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know you got his number.
Yeah.
All right, so
We're gonna
those,
run in and see Carolyn real quick.
okay. We're starting that.
Goes out or what?
4 minutes. And yes, I am that guy. You know me. I start at 7 o'clock.
Yep. No, I have no problem with that. That was the good summary.
Oh, yeah.
That was the good summary, is that why would they pay for something that they're getting free?
That's it. And, you know, and it's, we're the ones eating the cost on it. It's also
Yeah.
creating ice dams down at Bennett Lake Road.
And
Yeah.
people are having flooded homes.
And not to mention the road problems. What happens is all that stuff, well, it's separate. There's another problem.
Yeah.
That wetland on the Rock Church property right there at Linden and Bennett Lake Road.
Yeah.
What happens is that freezes, the wind blows, they start getting ice dams coming off
Ice
Bennett Lake
over
Road.
it, yeah.
So
That's a hazard.
this proposed drain goes through there,
Yeah.
extends the drainage into the lake, which will eliminate those ice dams.
Ice build up.
Get up and get more if they need more.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was so popular. I love this. This is great.
Do you need a copy of this?
She did.
That Ken hand, or Shelley, Ken handed out? Can I have your clean copy of that to give to Terry?
Yes? Yes. You done march yours all up, didn't you?
Yeah, here, pass it on to Terry.
There we go.
That's first on the agenda.
Pardon me.
What is, oh, the,
The-
yeah.
This? Is the area a flat rate or are they
Yes.
adjusted for distance that travels the water?
Layman's version.
What's that?
So we got a mess.